Hello and welcome back to KXAN Plus. We have our space show with our KXAN space guru, Eric Henrickson.
Guru.
Eric, thanks for joining me. How you doing?
I am great. Thank you for having me. We're gonna have fun today, even though we're kind of talking about a scary subject,
Yeah,
but not terribly scary. I guess it could be.
terribly.
And depends on what is your definition of existential dread.
Well, there's a good conclusion to this. That
Yeah.
means that they're coming back. And we are talking about astronauts stranded in space. When I was reading your article this
hmm
morning, I was thinking, are astronauts that were stranded in space a while ago? But no, different set of astronauts,
Yeah,
right?
I kind of held off the naming of the country for a little bit in that article. Yeah, that's it is what it is.
It is what it
I
is.
wanted you to read it. Did it work?
It
Yes.
worked. It
Okay, that
hooked
was the
me.
goal. Yeah, so several Chinese astronauts are currently stuck in space as a result of an incident in space, a space incident, as we like to call it.
A space
A
accident.
space accident. I'm not even sure if we call it an accident. I guess it is an accident, but it's also
They didn't collide with another
right.
spacecraft.
So here's what happened. For those of you who don't know, China does have a space station in orbit around the Earth. The name of the space station is Tiangong, and it's been there since 2021, since April of 2021. The first cruise reached there in June of 2021. So it's a fairly new space station. The Chinese government was not allowed to participate in the International Space Station due to security concerns between the countries that were involved. Like
And
the
that was
U.S.,
for
Russia.
a while, right? They had been already
Yeah,
separated.
that ISS is up in '99, I want to say. So it's been 20 plus years. They have not had their own, not been involved in the ISS. So they had their own space station. So they built their own, and they've been operating that for a few years. And they have these crews that rotate every 6 months. And the crew that was supposed to end their last rotation in late October.
October 31st, right?
Well,
How
that was
long?
when the new crew landed. So the old crew was supposed to leave. They were supposed to be there it was like a 9 day. They were there 9 days longer than they were supposed to be. So
Too long for me.
yeah, I write down the date on this piece of paper. It's just my story. They left. They left. I mean, it was last week, I guess. So it was
Maybe
like
I
it was
can.
supposed to leave like November 5th or something like that.
Let's see if we can see it in the
Yeah, I
article.
think I put it in the article. But they were supposed to leave at one point. But then their spacecraft. So they have on this space station they have two docking ports, and in their spacecraft, something hit it. It was like I saw one report said it was space debris. Now the problem with any reporting on the China space program is that they're such a restrictive on their media output, and we'll show you some video in a second. And that video comes directly from their news channels. So like this is photos by the Associated Press, but
Oh,
those are
this is
through
the
somebody
crew.
else too. Yeah, that's the crew that it went up on. They arrived on October 31st. There's their rocket. So
Mhm.
this crew goes up there. The crew they're supposed to switch out with is on the ships or on the stations too. This is one of the astronauts from the crew they're supposed to switch out with, and their space capsule gets damaged. Something hits the space capsule that's supposed to return the crew that was on the last 6 months.
And cracks the, not windshield, but the glass.
One of the glass
Yeah.
pieces got cracked, and they don't know if, from the reports we've gotten, they don't know if the damage is repairable or not. So if it's repairable, they'll just send more equipment up, they'll repair it, and they'll come back on it. If
Mhm.
it's not, that's a problem. So what happened was that old astronaut crew then took the ship, the new astronauts who were there to relieve them, took
How
them.
long was that old astronaut crew up there, though?
They were there for 204 days. Keep on saying 254. 204
Wow.
days, 9 days longer than they were supposed to.
That is
We've had people up there
scary.
longer, but that's the longest Chinese astronauts have been in space on this space station. That's the longest time because it was this 9 day overlap. So the astronauts who were on the last group then took the spacecraft from the astronauts on the new group, and then they used that to return to Earth. I think that we have video of them returning to Earth. I think that's the next video we have lined up. They returned to Earth using the spacecraft of the crew that was sent to relieve them.
In parachutes?
Oh yeah, it's like a pod, and then a parachute
Oh,
deploys.
okay.
That's how they do it, and then it lands like in the middle of the desert.
Wow.
Yeah, I understand that's not the most comfortable
What
landing.
desert? What area?
I didn't write it down. It's in China.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it's in China. We used to land a lot of them. I think it was Afghanistan for a long time. We
Wow.
would land like Russia would land their people there, and so it's like they just find like these big stretches of land where it's safe. Americans do it in the ocean. Well, we have a lot more ocean near us, and I think the landing's a little softer. But Russia has always landed in the middle of Russia, and China, I believe, always has as well. To the best of my knowledge, they always have had. So as you can see, this is like their state media. That's why we have like the banners up there that say CCTV, the all the different markings of their media association. Yeah, it's seeing. So just understanding like all this information we get is coming through their state media, and then like Americans are able to record on that
Look
media.
at how small that little capsule was.
So, right, that's the return capsule for the crew that's now currently on board the space station.
Wow.
And the crew that's currently on board the space station doesn't have a way to get home.
And what are they on right now? The space station?
They are on Tiangong. So
Okay.
they're there. And it's not like, I was reading something the other day. It's not like gravity where all these space stations are close together. It's not like they can just hop over to the ISS. They're not near each other. They're not near each other at all. It's the distance between us and China. It's like that big of a distance. It's not close. So they're on that space station. Now, the space station is perfectly fine. It's operating well. It has all the supplies they need. It's fine. Actually, go to the next video because they'll show like the space station. You'll see it. It's in good condition. It's pretty large.
It's that bigger.
Yeah, let me go big on that. Yeah, see, they're just doing experiments. They're working, but kind of like when our astronauts were stuck there last year, they were able to just live and exist and do their thing.
Didn't they grow vegetables or they were trying something?
They're doing all
up
sorts
there?
of stuff. The last crew was working on mice on the space station. They were working on like mice in microgravity, so they brought those back with them. But they are stuck there. There's no way currently for them to get back. Now, China says they're going to launch another rocket later this month, in just a couple weeks here, next week, or maybe the week after if there's any delays. And that rocket will likely carry, this is what we're understanding, is likely carry a new capsule up to them or supplies to repair the old capsule. And if they repair the old capsule, cool, they can just take it down. But they have to get rid of that capsule no matter what. It either has to come back to Earth or they're going to dump it in the Pacific Ocean. When they dump it in the Pacific Ocean, it will likely burn up because it won't be a controlled fall.
It will go too fast.
Because these ships have like a heat shield that protects them when they re-enter the atmosphere. And if you remember, we've had a couple space shuttles that have had disasters because one of them, what year was that? Was that not Columbia? Yeah, Columbia. One of the space shuttles. Sorry, I mix them up sometimes. The one that was destroyed later, it had a piece of its heat shield fall off, which is what caused it to.
Completely explode.
Right.
Yeah.
And so without with the shield isn't the part that faces the atmosphere as it re-enters, it will break up pretty easily. Yeah. And so they could just like tumble it and let it break up and just disintegrate in the air. And that way just get rid of it. Now they need it gone because they only have 2 docks on the space station. And they need one for a crew coming up and a crew coming back. They need the 2 docks. So if they can't repair it, they'll release it likely. This is according to Reuters. They'll release it back into the atmosphere and let it destroy, and then they'll send up the new one. If they can't repair it, they'll send up the repair supplies, and they'll use those to replace the window on the spacecraft. They're still going to do their 6-month stay, but right now there's no way for them to get home. So
they're fulfilling their 6-month stay, but they don't know how long they're going to stay. It might be more.
You ever like drive to work and you get a flat tire when you get to the parking lot and you're like, I'm going to deal with you at the end of my shift. I'm going to call AAA now and say, hey, come bring me a tire. I need this tire repaired. But I have to finish my job first, and then I'm going to handle that tire. That's where they're at. They're like aware AAA's on the way, and they're kind of like watching their phones and going, I need to keep an eye on this.
Do they have phones up there?
Yeah.
They do?
They have communication devices. Yeah. Wow. They look like phones, but they're satellite stuff. But they're watching their phone, going, okay, they're calling to say, hey, AAA's on the way.
Yeah.
But they are still doing their jobs, still working. I mean, what else are you gonna do? You can't just sit there and go, I have no way to get home. You focus on your job at hand, and then you deal with it. During the winter storms, I remember we had like icy roads, and I was stuck here at the station, and we were staying at the hotel next door. But there came a point where it's like we need to go back to our house, which had no power, no water, and we had some damage, and we had to go back there. But the roads were still icy, and we're like, well, we'll deal with that situation once we can get home, we'll deal with it. But right now, we're just going to focus on I'm going to stay here and do my job, and that's kind of where they're at that situation. I think a AAA analogy was better.
Yeah, I liked both of them.
I'm very proud of my
liked
AAA
both
analogy. I came up with that on the fly, people. Take a sip of my coffee here. Enjoy that.
Well, we know pretty much the schedule that our astronauts take when they go up and they come
Right.
down. But how often do these astronauts rotate? Is it a schedule that they continue every
It is
single?
every 6 months, there's a three-man crew that replaces the old three-man crew. And their
Mhm.
station, I believe, based on my understanding on it, because again, there's information out there, but it is restricted because of state media in China. It is, I believe, it's a smaller station, the International Space Station, but they typically have 3 people on board every 6 months. Uh, Interesting. The one of the members of this crew that's currently on board, which is called Shenzhou 21. Shenzhou 20 was the previous crew.
Mhm.
Uh, Shenzhou 21, one of the crew members, is the youngest Chinese astronaut ever in space.
How old is he?
He was in his like I think like late or 30s. It was like early 30s. I think was it.
Wow, and what a coincidence you get stuck up there for more than your stay.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll they have the 6 months. So they arrived October 31st. Do quick math with me. That's 10th month. So it's the April, May, something like that. They'll return
Next year.
next year. But so hopefully everything's handled by then. They're going to launch something up in the next couple weeks. Hopefully they'll handle the situation. But until then, yeah, just kind of like chilling. Just astronauts hanging in space, just doing their thing.
They're doing their thing. Your article says that they're in good spirits and they're
Yeah.
performing experiences.
The commander of the previous mission was basically like, man, space is hard. Sometimes this stuff happens, but you
Figure
roll
it
with
out.
it. You know, just kind of roll with it. He didn't say it quite like that, with a little Texas twang in it.
Yeah.
My Southern's coming out. Sorry if if it's too heavy, but that's basically like just roll with it. Just go,
We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out as we go. That's the wonders of space to me. This wonders of space travel is a lot of it is like the best of human ingenuity. It's like really thought out. There's engineers in labs somewhere putting stuff together. There's college kids with calculators solving equations that are
Interns helping from behind
everyone's
the scenes.
people running around with copiers. Kevin Costner's yelling at someone in the corner, but then sometimes it's like, does anyone have any paper clips because we gotta stitch this spaceship together?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just that. Sometimes it's just like we do what we gotta do.
We
and
gotta
sometimes
roll
it's
with
like
it.
really thought out. That's my favorite part about space travel is it's the combination of the most brilliant minds on the planet and the foolhardiness of the human species. So
Yeah. Rolling with the punches.
rolling with the punches. There
So
we go.
China said they first began the assembly of their space station in 2021.
Yeah.
It is now 2020, about to be 2026.
Started the construction of the parts in like 2011 is what I read, and then they put it together. They sent the first pod up in 2021 and started putting the pieces together in space. And then later that year, that was April. By June, there were people on board.
And that was a result of China being excluded from the
Yeah,
ISS.
there was some security concerns. We have people have a lot of issues with the two countries back and forth. And you remember, the International Space Station is not just us; it's also Russia. We're great buddies with them all the time, but also like the UK and the European Space Agency, just in general.
Lots of different agencies.
A lot of different people around the world involved. If I do recall, it's been a while since I've looked. I'm pretty sure they have a different map or different flags on all the different pods on the International Space Station to mark all the countries involved.
Is
It's so many
Australia
things.
part of the International Space Station, or do they have
I
their
think
own?
they are. I'm pretty sure they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm visualizing the flag, and I'm trying to think, have I seen it on board? I'm pretty sure they are.
Hopefully. I know that they're really good with space.
The ones I would wonder are India. I don't know its involvement. China's obviously not involved. I'm pretty sure Japan is. I think India is the one I'm not quite sure on, and China I know isn't. So Japan I'm pretty sure is. Australia I'm pretty sure is, and then the European Space Agency, which is a combination of all of Europe. So.
Well, we have that article about the crew that is waiting to be rescued here on our website, KXAN.com. We have some photos of that as well, and just some fun tidbits, some quotes. And why is he in a bag?
Oh, so when you go into space, your body kind of like
Slow
it weakens.
down.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
dissolves, but that
Oh
sounds
my
bad.
gosh.
It's not dissolves. Your bones get weaker, your muscles get weaker just because you're not having gravity push on you. So protocol is when you return to Earth, they carry you and they usually wrap you in a bag or like a sleeping bag or blankets. I think we usually do blankets in the U.S. But it just you're not used to the environment, the atmosphere. There's a lot of changes your body goes through in space. We've talked about those in the past. And then when you return to Earth, you have to readjust to those. My favorite is the fluids in your body start to float to the top of your head, which means you get kind of like nasally and sinusy, and your ability to taste things goes down. And also you get taller, and your spine actually like elongates because the synovial fluid, the fluid between your spinal cord,
Cord,
like
yeah.
what are the bones? They expand because you don't have the gravity pushing down. So you actually get taller and back pain goes away. And then you come back to Earth.
And it comes right back.
Comes right back.
Dang it. They
I
probably
think
want
over
to
time.
stay up
I don't
there.
think it's like you get back to Earth and you're like, oh. Although that happens to me when I brush my teeth sometimes and I bend over too
Get
far.
out of bed.
And
Oh.
like, oh, yeah. Like I said, we were talking about how I'm getting older, and I was talking about this. We talked about this beforehand. And yeah, that's one of the thrills. You'll find it. You'll see it soon. It starts to, your knees start hurting, your back starts hurting for no reason at all.
Well, we discussed that these astronauts are stranded and they're hopefully getting rescued soon, but we have some more topics to talk about.
Oh, you know I bring a bunch. So Aurora Borealises. We've been talking about those a lot lately.
Last week, that was a
Last
hot
week.
topic.
And I've been watching the Aurora forecast every single day to see if it wiggles down our way. Today it is not expected to, but tomorrow maybe.
Why is it coming back so often?
We get a storm. The sun's just really active right now, and so if we get a storm there, it just kind of hits us, and we get more auroras down here. So the solar researcher Ryan French was kind of wanted to break this down for the Associated Press, and they shared that interview with us. And here's him explaining like why we see them right now, why we're seeing them so far south, what they are. And I just thought it was a fascinating interview, and I wanted to share it with you. So here you go.
Essentially, you have an eruption of stuff from the sun. This is called a coronal mass ejection, which sounds like a complicated term, but it's just an ejection of mass from the sun's corona, which is the word we use for the sun's atmosphere. This travels through space. It can take a day, several days to reach Earth, but as it does so, it's slammed into the Earth's magnetic field. As this happens, high energy particles will enter our magnetic field. They will slide down towards the North and the South Pole, and as those particles collide with our atmosphere, it causes them to glow. So the different colors you see in the aurora are caused by different elements at different heights in the atmosphere being smacked by these high energy particles from space. The sun follows an 11-year cycle of increasing and decreasing solar activity. We call this the solar cycle. At the peak of this cycle where we are now, there are lots of sunspots on the sun. These produce a lot of solar flares and eruptions that head towards Earth. But at the bottom of this cycle, the sun doesn't really do anything for years at the time. So we had a severe geomagnetic storm this week. Last year in 2024, we had a severe storm again in October. And then last May 2024, we had an extreme geomagnetic storm, which is the largest we've had in 20 years. But as I said, these won't continue in perpetuity. Next year, the year after, we're then going to have an absence of these events for many years. But it's not guaranteed, and it varies pretty much exclusively on what the sun is doing. We expect the next year to next 2 years, perhaps, the sun to still be producing a lot of activity, but there's a little bit of luck involved with when these things fire off the sun if they're heading towards Earth. So it's not a guarantee that it will happen again over the next couple of years, but it's certainly possible. The aurora really sends the message home that Earth is not just an isolated bubble in space, but we live in a solar system, we live next to a star, and we can see the reality of the interactions of that star with the Earth above you with your eye. It's fantastic and not something that you typically get to see. To see firsthand with my eye the influence of something 93 million miles away happening above our heads is really quite striking. I've seen the aurora many times now, and every time it's different. The colors, the shapes all vary time to time, so truly a wonderful sight to see.
It is a wonderful sight to see, and even better, I bet, if you're up like in Iceland or
Right.
somewhere closer. But
If
we're
you-
so lucky to have it here these last couple days.
You look at the forecast for it, which again I'm checking like every day
Yeah.
because the other day when it was bad, I didn't get to see it. I just didn't see it, and I was like, gosh. I
And
need to see
Kristen
this.
was saying she got a lot of messages from people asking why Kristen and the other meteorologists didn't let everyone know that it was happening. But it's hard to predict, right?
It is hard to predict. It's not something we usually have in our like for the meteorologist. It's not like the forecast for
It's
that
not like
goes
a
into their
weather
system. Yeah, it's not like
occurrence.
you
Yeah.
have to like physically go and check several different sources, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like it's one of those things that if you're not thinking about, I
might miss
check
it.
it, but I don't check it every day, and it's one of those things. It's like another step in your day, and you may not check it. You may check it. I wish they had an app that would just send it to you or a push alert.
A
of some sort.
notification.
Yeah, unfortunately, the agencies that do monitor these things, like NASA, do not have that. So we'll get better at that over time. But
Maybe you can start that for us.
I can develop. Oh, actually, I have a guy. We have a guy here who may be able to
I
help us
can
with that.
develop.
I'll talk to him after this, but he might be able to give us that kind of push alert for it. But and we could help y'all with that. But it is just something that it's not something we typically look at because it is very rare. And we've had like 2-3 days total where
Yeah.
it's gone this far south
And
in
just
like
like
a
you
2-year
mentioned,
period.
it
Like
was luck. It's like straight luck.
it's luck. It's the storm has to be at the right level, and the weather has to be at the right level, and the Earth's magnetosphere. I mean, just like all forecasting, there's a lot going on to it.
The sun.
But it's so rare. It's like I don't check Austin's tsunami warnings very often
because we don't get
we
them.
don't get them typically. So it's one of those things like I wouldn't check it because we don't get them, or earthquakes. Like I'm not
Yeah.
checking, the earthquake meters here locally. Our weather team doesn't check them. We do get earthquakes occasionally, but they're usually like somewhere else in the
Tiny.
state, and they're very small. But it's not something we typically check just because it's so rare. So that's why we just don't have it on our radar very often. But I think I have an idea. So I'm gonna noodle something. You know I
Ooh.
like to noodle. I'm a noodler. I am a noodler. So this is me noodling an idea.
Well, we talked about those astronauts that are stranded.
Mhm.
Now we've touched on the northern lights that keep coming to Central Texas.
Yep.
But one thing that we have talked about in the past is Blue Origin, and you have an update for us?
Right. So last week, Blue Origin launched their New Glenn rocket, which is their really big rocket, and it's done something that only up to this point SpaceX has done. It went up into space and then it landed back on Earth on using drones on a space on like a dock or not dock.
Really?
a boat.
Only SpaceX has done
So
that?
yeah, that's on my sources that I read. I read like 3 or 4 different articles this morning about
Yeah.
like the validity of this, but it seems SpaceX is the only one who's done
Wow.
the landing in this way. And there's actually really cool. I love it. It's like a catch. And anyway, but Blue Origin now has done it, and this rocket wasn't just like a test rocket. It brought with it two identical Mars orbiters called Escapade, and
Ooh.
it's taking those to Mars. So it went up, launched these two orbiters, and then it came back down on Earth. And it's a big rocket. It's big.
Mm.
Look at that. Look at that beautiful.
How
stuff.
big? What's the sizing?
Do I have these sizing right now? Yeah, 321 feet tall, named after astronaut John Glenn, which I have a signed John Glenn picture in my house. And yeah, so it's a big rocket. It's not as big as Starship, SpaceX's one,
Yeah.
but it is big. But more importantly, they recover the booster and they can reuse it. They're going to use it for a couple hundred more flights.
It's headed to Mars?
So the booster returned. The rocket itself that carries the Escapade orbiters is heading to Mars.
Wow.
And Escapade, they're cool. They're about the size. Each orbiter is about the size. They're twin orbiters, and they're about the size of a copy machine. And the idea is to create like smaller. They're shrinking spaces. I was reading this morning, but smaller spaceships, smaller orbiters. Things that carry us need to be a certain size. But like if we can get something that collects data and it's pretty small, we're going to do that.
Easier to send up to.
Right. Cheaper too. $80 million for this flight, which is a lot. But when you're thinking about
Wow.
sending a ship to Mars,
Yeah.
that's really cheap. That's less than an Avengers movie. That's like half an Avenger. That's like one
You could
Robert
send
Downey
an
Jr.
Avenger up
Yeah,
there
we
for
just send
cheaper.
one Avenger. That's a Hemsworth and a Scarlett Johansson combined, and that's what you're getting there.
Wow.
But they're sending two orbiters, and they're called Escapade, and they're about the size of a copier. And what they do is they're going to scan Mars's magnetosphere. This ties in with the aurora borealis, which is caused by our magnetosphere. It's going to scan Mars's, which is very thin and weak. And the idea always has been that Mars had an atmosphere at some point, like a really thick atmosphere with water and stuff like ours.
Oh.
But then something happened. Something on the
The
planet
Big
happened.
Bang.
No, that would be a totally different thing. Something happened on Mars where the magnetosphere kind of got like thrown off. Like something like the internal mechanics of the planet, kind of the geothermal, geosciences, motion. I'm missing the word here. The Mars itself stopped moving as much internally.
The
and as a
Mars
result-
stopped Marsing.
Yeah, Mars stopped Mars, like less volcanic activity, that kind of thing, less earthquakes. Became less active as a planet, and as a result, the magnetosphere collapsed. And as a result of that, there wasn't a protection for the atmosphere of Mars, and then it was destroyed. So these orbiters are going to go up and scan Mars and learn more about it. So this is a cool mission because A, we get these two orbiters that are going to scan it. There's two of them, so if one fails, the other one will come up. So pretty good. The cost is super expensive. And then to show that another company, Blue Origin, is capable of this re-landing and reusing a booster. The reusing of these things makes it cheaper to go.
Wow.
So if we can reuse them, we can do more missions. So that's kind of the thought process here.
And remind us where Blue Origin launches from.
Blue Origin typically launches in
Is it Florida?
it was Cape Canaveral. It was like their space for. I actually deleted that line. I cannot believe you asked me that. Did I delete that?
You deleted it because you were supposed to know it.
Well, no, I had it on. I was trying to get this on one page. It was Cape Canaveral. But it was like their Space Force base. Typically, Blue Origin launches like the touristy stuff in West Texas, but this one was a different location. It was like Cape Canaveral Space Force Base 6 or something. It was something like that. But yeah, I did delete that line. I deleted that line just to get this on 2 pages, and now I regret it.
Well, how long is it going to take for them to get to Mars after
2027. I'll make sure I read that right. Yeah, so it's going to do a gravity assist next fall, where it does an orbit, and then we've talked about this in the past. Uses gravity to accelerate it towards Mars. And I was reading one description. It's like you're trying to shoot a bow and arrow, and you're launching the arrow before the target is where you're aiming at. It's kind of that thing across space, and then that arrow is going to circle the planet and launch itself using gravity on top of that. So it's crazy. But yeah, it'll fall, it'll come back around in its orbit, use Earth, and then in 2027 reach Mars.
So it'll take about 2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years.
That's not bad.
A slower trip than what we would take as people.
Yeah.
We if we were going, we'd have more more boosters and stuff.
And is that because the rocket would be bigger?
Yeah, the rocket would be bigger. You'd have more, just more stuff in general to kind of keep it moving. For something like this, you don't really need it to get there at a certain time. So you kind of you just kind of push and let friction do its, or not friction, the frictionless space, let inertia do its thing and save money. So you don't have to carry all the fuel up there. If humans were going, we'd be carrying fuel to get there and back.
To make sure that we do get there.
And also, we're also worried about our food and air and water, things like that we don't want to run out of. So you don't want to run out of those things on the trip. So you try to make sure that trip is as quick as possible. So that's just a few-month trip when humans will go.
Interesting. Well, you have been following Blue Origin for a while. Is there any missions or things that they're going to be working on in the future?
Yeah, they have a few different plans, more launches. They're going to do a demo flight for their own lunar lander. And then they're trying to beat SpaceX. It's like kind of Blue Origin and SpaceX are fighting for the top. All these billionaires and trillionaires fighting to be the first. But this one's gonna be on the moon, is what they're aiming for, to work with NASA on Artemis. Currently, SpaceX has the contracts for Artemis up to a certain point. I don't know if they have all of them. And so Blue Origin's trying to sweep in there and get some more contracts with NASA and land more people on the moon. Artemis 2 is actually scheduled to launch early next year. And that's going to be the big one. And the Artemis 2 will take people back to the orbit of the moon. I'm excited about that.
What I think that these companies should be fighting for is who finds aliens first.
It's not going to be one of them.
They need to start the journey.
I don't think it'll be a private company. I think it'll be like a research university or something, honestly.
You think it'd be a university, not the government?
Well, 'cause a lot of these research universities work with the government. So, it'd be a combination of the two. NASA would make the announcement. Europa Clipper, which is worked on here at UT, that's going to study the oceans of Europa. And I could see something like that finding aliens quicker than.
And do you think that what they find is going to be like something that walks, or is it going to be something that swims or flies?
I think they're going to find bacteria.
Boring.
I mean, dangerous. Did you see the movie Life? Start off as a bacteria. No, I think we'll find single-cell organisms more likely, or like signs of life. Like we found that stuff on Mars that were showing that life did exist or likely existed on Mars.
Those little tiny things.
Yeah, it was like those oxidization. Not talk. Sorry, no, we're on a talking show, and I can't talk. Oxidized rocks and stuff that show that people exist, or not people, but things existed that were breathing. Definitely not people. There are no great men, but things were breathing that would create those rocks. So we don't know for sure, but we're pretty sure things lived on Mars at some point. Maybe like plants, maybe just single-cell organisms, but something was there. The question is, can we find something that's current? I think we'll find it in one of the moons of Jupiter.
I think that it
Titan
already exists and it's
Europa.
watching us.
I think possibly they're watching us.
I think they're trying to look for us.
They must be really ashamed. Look at that species.
Oh my God.
Gosh,
Look how hard they're trying to find us.
they're doing a bad job. They could be so much better. I think there's a possibility that we're being watched. I don't know for sure. I don't think so. Because what's the point of that? I know. I have a feeling the human race, as soon as we find something, we're going to try to like. If it's something that's like intelligent, we'll try to establish contact pretty closely, pretty quickly. Sorry. And I think other species would do the same. So, yeah, no, I think there's a chance we could be watched. But I think what we're going to find, just because the space is so big, it's going to be like a single cell organism.
Just a little rock.
Like a worm or something.
Ew.
Yeah, probably like a worm or something like that.
And then
or amoeba or something like that.
And what would we do with it? Just keep it?
I think we'd study it. I think we'd study how it developed. I think it's part of our greater understanding. We talk about alien life every week. I mean, there wasn't once
I'm going
in my rundown for the
to
show
add
today,
a section.
I mentioned aliens. I think when it comes to alien life, what we discover is not going to be like the thing that goes, oh, it's going to change it forever. I think what it'll do is change it won't change anything we do modern, but it'll change our understanding of the universe and prove. I think we do need that proof that we're not alone. And
just give us some comfort,
but also I think it gives us drive. I think humans need goals. I think something we're lacking as a species right now is a big goal,
a reason.
Yeah. Like we talk about going to space, but I think a lot of people don't care. And I think that if we were like, hey, there's stuff out there, we need to go find it. I think that would be the thing that would drive us up there. I listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson, a very famous astronomer, talk about this, and he says that the only reason we'll go to Mars is if there's economic gain, if there's a reason, a military gain. There has to be like some big reason, and I don't think we have that reason yet.
And that's why it's taking so long.
Yeah, it's like we got to the moon in 8 years.
Yeah,
we could do that if we really have a big reason to, and I'm hoping we have a reason. I think one of the reasons we want to return to the moon now, and actually not, I think I know this, is because China is trying to go to the moon. So it's a competition. It's a competition.
Yeah.
And humans rely on. We need a goal. We need a competition. It's the reason we like sports. The reason we like games. Humans are driven by competition, and we need a purpose. And I think if we have a big purpose, if we discovered some single cell organisms, and it's like, okay, these may be out there, and there may be more. I think that'd be a pretty big purpose. To help
I think pretty soon our purpose is we need a new planet, right?
Eventually, yeah. Eventually, we're gonna need to. Diversify our holdings.
A new home.
Yeah, it's always better to not have all your eggs in one basket, right? I'm definitely a big proponent of this, that we should be traveling through space to expand the human race so that if something happens here, it's not all over.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I think that we should do it. But that's my goal. I don't know. I'm just a guy with a microphone talking on TV.
Talking on the space. Well, we have that article on the stranded astronauts. Again, if you missed our conversation about that, it's on our website, KXAN.com. We have all of the details. We even have some photos. Eric, anything special you're working on that you want to share?
I mean, I'm working on winter weather outlook with the weather team right now. It's going to take up the rest of my day. And then we're going to send about ants for next week.
Ooh.
And then there's something that UT worked on for Space we'll talk about next week. I need to send them a message. They messaged me, and we're just kind of doing the back and forth thing. But that's kind of cool about a star exploding. So I'm excited to talk about that. Winter weather outlook's looking good. I think people are going to be excited, interested.
Hopefully we actually get some cold weather.
We'll see.
Well, thanks.
I've read all the scripts. I know how this is going to turn out. So
really?
We'll see. Yeah, I know what the outlook is.
Boo.
I know.
Okay.
That's a tease. You're going to hold that for a few weeks.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me, Eric, and we will see you next week with some more space news.
Of course. See you next week.